Welcome to Pages of an Art Journal. If you are new here, my name is Kristina and I share my art journal process. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I thought I would go through and show the products I pulled to use. I may not end up using everything, but by selecting a few things ahead of time, I don't feel so overwhelmed. I don't like to be searching for products while I'm in the middle of creating. Before I started doing this, I would get too distracted when I couldn't find something. It sounds funny, but how I pick is either just randomly or most of the time the products just call out to me to use. I chose this chunky glitter because I wanted to see how it looks when added to translucent texture paste. Everything I ended up choosing are all pretty similar in color or colors that go well together for each product. All supplies used will be listed in the video description. I am starting the background using acrylic paint. Matte acrylic paint is the best type to use in mixed media art journaling. Because of the matte finish, other types of products work well applied on top. If the finish was more glossy or shiny like regular acrylic paint usually is, it is very hard to use any other mediums on top due to being too slippery. Here I am mixing some water into white paint to create splatters to start a galaxy look. Pattern papers, especially papers from Stamperia, tend to be the first supplies that inspires me. Each paper set also has a page or two with some really great quotes. Once I have picked out the papers I am going to use, I start to fussy cut out the images for my focal points and start placing them on the pages. I am just lightly tracing the images to use as a guide to where I will apply some texture paste next. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to try and experiment with the chunky glitter. I wanted to see if the glitter would still shine through the translucent texture paste. It is important to use translucent paste for this since if it was opaque, you would not see the glitter at all. I absolutely love hexagons. Some people like circles or squares in their art journal page, but hexagons are my go-to shape. I felt this went well with the celestial theme. You can see now how I pick the supplies, and once you have a starting point, which for me is usually pattern paper, you can pull your other supplies inspired by that. It could be shapes, colors, or even texture finish like embossing powders. I sometimes like to use a brush to apply sprays. I have more control this way if I only want the inks in certain areas. A spray bottle of water also helps to get the ink to flow. On this page, I wanted to try to get the ink to flow through the stencil texture paste. By doing this, the stencil design will start to stand out more. If you have never used Distress Oxide inks before, they are a very fun product to use. They are considered a dye and pigment hybrid ink, and when activated with water, they react to create an oxidized look. Once dry, they have a matte, almost dusty look. There are a ton of colors to choose from, and they come in both spray and ink pad, as well as other mediums like paint and crayons. I do dry in between applications of different ink colors, even though they are water reactive. I do find they react less and the colors do not mix together as much. Sometimes I even dry as I'm applying the inks to further help them not react the colors underneath. I thought adding just a touch of more intense blue in some spots would brighten up the pages a bit and add to the galaxy look. I focused mainly on the stenciled areas and edges of the pages. Here I am using embossing ink and powders. If you are not sure what that pouch was I was using, that is an anti-static pouch. If you pounce that over the pages, it helps to prevent the embossing powder to only stick to the stamped embossing ink. Rather than stamping randomly over the pages, here I am focusing just in the open area of the spread. You can see here how some of the embossing powder still stuck to the areas other than where I stamped. You can easily wipe away any powder before you heat it, but I really liked the way it looked, so I kept it there. This is an embossing ink pen. It is a great tool when you want to apply embossing powder over certain areas. I chose to use this to add another embossing powder color to just some of the stenciled texture. This embossing powder is actually an embossing glitter, so it will add some great sparkles. Once I have the background pretty much finished, I like to go in with some stamping. This stamp is from the same collection as the pattern paper. I am using archival distress ink because I like how crisp the stamped images turn out. It is also permanent, so if I decided later to use any more fluid products, it won't affect them. This is the ink pad version of the Distress Oxide product line. They do create a softer look, so they work really well to add some color in a more subtle way. I feel like it creates a nice dreamy look to the spread. These are applied using a foam blending tool, also from Ranger. Distress Oxide ink pads also work great when used along the edges of the pages. It creates a nice framed look, and depending on the color, you can make the pages have a vintage or aged look. It's also a great color to edge the fussy cut papers. Doing this just removes the paper's white edges and makes the images stand out more from the spread. Now that I feel the background is finished, this is when I glue down the images. It still needs more, so up next I will be adding some die cuts. When I'm going to apply some splatters, I just rip up some kitchen paper towel to cover the paper images. Lindy's Starburst sprays are perfect for sparkly splatters due to having colored mica in them. I focus mainly around the images so the pages are not overwhelmed with splatters. This is a sticker pack I purchased off of Amazon. I have had them forever and was glad to finally use them on a spread. Look at all the beautiful celestial images to choose from. I definitely used a lot of embossing powders on this spread. I used the gold one again on the Sacred Geometry symbol die cuts that I cut out with my Cricut machine. I did not apply the embossing ink, which this time is a dauber applicator, to the entire die cut to purposely leave some white spots open. Now I am spraying some Lindy's Moon Shadow Mist on them. This walnut toned ink with brass mica will only stick to the open areas and will give the die cuts an aged gold look. The other die cut I am using here is a metal die from Tim Holtz and Sizzix. I am using one of the Starburst sprays again to make these leaves beautifully shiny and sparkly. When gluing down die cuts, I sometimes cut them up. I use the cut off pieces on other parts of the page. If I don't end up using them, I never throw them out and instead put them in a container to use later on another art journal page. hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button as it'll help my channel reach more viewers. Please consider subscribing if you have not done so already. If you click the notification bell, you will be notified the next time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and happy art journaling!